All right, everybody. Welcome to the Contextual Christian Church Bible Study, where today we're going to read Isaiah chapter 5, verses 11 to 24. I'm going to pray it in. Everybody, bow your heads. Father, thank you for getting us in this Bible study today as we're going through Isaiah, talking about what's either currently or not currently, but what's going to happen in that particular time period or what's going to happen in the last days. I pray that we may be able to hear something or discuss or cover something in context that may have something to do with what we got into our listenings, maybe a connection. If not, it'll still be a good Bible study regardless. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right, so last time what we had gotten into, we finished up chapter 4 and we got well actually I can't even say finished. We did chapter 4 because that was only 6 verses, and then we got through the first few verses of chapter 5 of Isaiah. And with chapter 4, we had finished up because it definitely was more connected to the prophecies of chapter 3 of the end times. And what we were seeing in chapter 4 was about the fruitfulness of the land of Israel and what it's going to be after all the impure impurities, so to speak. The ones who are living in sin and everyone who's going to be cast out of Jerusalem and Judah are kicked out. And at the time where there's only people who are truly trying to follow, and when it's going to be called a faithful city. And that's the time frame that we were talking about. And so it basically went in to explain how God's going to be their covering, God's going to be taking care of them. Now, then we got into chapter 5. In chapter 5, we got into what seems to be a metaphor or parable from God's perspective of the children of Israel and how in the children of Israel in the land of Israel, and comparing the efforts that God has made and how when he planted them there, so to speak, he gave them all that they needed. Yet, even still, with being there and during this and giving them everything that they need, how they still were, as the example it gave, he planted regular grapes and what came forth were the wild grapes, pointing out that it's not what he had planted there. And when we look back at all the different times that the children of Israel would go back and forth, and they started off and God set them up everything they needed to be doing right by him and to have a peaceful life, and how he would protect them, and even in the midst of war, they wouldn't really have to worry, and how they would turn their backs on him every time. They make little loopholes here or there, and then go further and further into sin until he would have to punish them, and then coming back to it. And so that's really what everything we were reading about last time in the chapter 5 portion was really about that. Even as God pointed out, like a parent would point out, what could I have done that I haven't done? So, matter of fact, this vineyard, as the metaphor was using, he's cutting off the top of the hedge. He's destroying it, in other words, and that there's only going to be a little bit left in the end. And that was what he was explaining. So now today we'll continue from that as we continue in chapter 5 in verse 11. And I'll go switch it to our first section so our first reader can read. And go ahead, Charles, when you're ready.
All right. I'll read Isaiah chapter 5, verses 11 to 15. Give it a couple seconds. Verse 11. Woe unto them that rise up early in the morning, that they may follow strong drink, that continue until night, till wine inflame them, and the harp and the viol and the tabret and pipe and wine are in the feast, but they regard not the work of the Lord, neither consider the operation of his hands. Therefore, my people are gone into captivity, because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. Therefore, hell hath enlarged herself, and opened her mouth without measure, and their glory, and their multitude, and their pomp, and he that rejoiceth shall descend into it. And the mean man shall be brought down, and the mighty man shall be humbled, and the eyes of the lofty shall be humbled. All right, starting off with verse 11. Woe unto them that rise up early in the morning, that they may follow strong drink, that they continue until night, till wine inflame them. What that sounds like is a, a strong warning against the people that are drinking, the drunks, in other words. When you're talking about somebody that's drinking until early morning till nighttime, strong drinking from dusk till dawn, from morning till night. We're talking about drunks in my is what I was thinking about.
Yeah, we're talking about alcoholics here. We
Yeah.
definitely talking about alcoholics here.
A strong warning to the alcoholics, the drunks, drunkards. Then verse 12, let me reread. And the harp and the viol, the tabret and pipe and wine,
Tabray.
tabret and pipe and wine are in the feast, but they
Think of
regard
like the
not.
giant cymbals that you could hold with your hands to clash. That's like tabret.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I got you. But they regard not the work of the Lord, neither consider the operation of his hands. Now, verse 12, it starts off by talking about these instruments and this and the wine and the feast. But when it brings up they don't regard the work of God nor consider his operation, I'm thinking that the children of Israel just, you're not thinking about who put you in the position to give you these instruments in this wine, to have the feast in the first place with instruments and wine. You're not grateful and thankful for who even gave you these things. You're not grateful and thankful for who put you in a position to have the feast with all this stuff. You don't care. You're not considerate. That's what I'm thinking about for verse 12.
Yes, but not just 12. You're separating them.
Oh, 11 and 12 then.
Well, look at the whole thing connected. Woe unto them that rise up early in the morning, that they may follow strong drink. Well, if you're following strong drink, are you just having a sip, or are you like this is a
No,
regular thing? This is how
this
you
is a
live in.
regular thing. Yeah, this is who you are. It's how you live.
Exactly. And then that points out that continue until night, till wine inflame them. So they're sitting here with this strong drink, and then with wine at the nighttime. So the the soft core alcohol from the strong alcohol. And when you're looking at that, and the harp and the viol, what do all these have in common? They all have one thing in common. And what they have in common is all these are used in partying, drinking,
Celebrations.
instruments,
Yeah.
celebration, the feast. All of those are used in their feasts and their parties. So what is he actually saying when he says it? You're separating it from it, but it's connected. So what it's actually pointing out is that when you're doing these celebrations, you're doing celebration, you're not even considering all the work that God is doing. So it's not just consideration as we would think of consideration today. What it actually is consideration as in you're not thinking about God at all. You're using the things that God has given to celebrate, especially to celebrate the things of God, but you've taken God out the picture. There's another example of this, and that's in especially in today, and that's having intimacy without marriage. Intimacy can be amazing. It's great. the whole pleasure and everything of it. But God created, when he created woman for man, the whole point of intimacy was the two becoming one. So when you're having intimacy outside of marriage and you're having intimacy prior to marriage, what you're doing is you're taking something that was meant in its origin to connect to become one, and you're leaving God out of it. And that's the same thing that they're doing here. You're taking these stuff that was meant in its origin for the celebration of God and all that he's done, and you're leaving God out of it entirely and just celebrating to celebrate. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Does that make sense, Thomas?
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead and continue, Charles.
Now he next says in 13, therefore my people are gone into because of what I was just saying. Israel, my people are going into captivity. We've talked about which ones are going into captivity and which ones will be coming back. Then he brings up because they have no knowledge. Well, pretty self-explanatory. But let me get to the next part. And their
Well,
honor.
that pointed out something of context giving that switches something up. Don't forget that. It just added a detail towards the context that we didn't have prior.
As in, we're talking about the children of Israel as in that particular time period, not in further, like in the future time sense. You mean in that
Exactly.
context?
Exactly. This gives us context that chapter 5 is not talking about the end times. Do you see that?
Got
get
it.
how?
Yeah.
What about 13 tells us that we're talking about the captivity of Babylon, not the captivity of the end times?
Give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
There's a detail I'm missing from the captivity in the future versus the captivity of Babylon. It has to have
It's
something to do
something
with
in this verse that tells you, specifically in this verse.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
All right. Thomas, what in 13 lets us know that we're not talking about the end times, but we're talking about the captivity of Babylon?
It's because the fact they're going into captivity because they don't have any knowledge in regards to into what God is doing for them, like in this present moment. Yeah.
No, but good try. It's the words are gone. Therefore, because of this, in other words, therefore my people are gone into captivity. Is that present tense or future tense, Charles?
Present tense.
Yep. And
I
at the
skipped right
time
over
of
that.
Isaiah, what was happening right around in that time frame of Isaiah?
Isaiah was Hezekiah, if I'm not mistaken, right? King Hezekiah.
And what happened after Hezekiah? They went
Oh
into
man.
captivity just soon after. Does that make sense, Thomas and Charles?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, if it would have said, therefore my people shall go or will go into captivity, something of future reference, then do we have any confirmation of when it's talking about if it said it like that? Charles?
Repeat the first part, how you said it for the
If
confirmation.
it had said something in future tense, like therefore my people will go or therefore my people shall go, something where it's future tense. If it had said it like that, then would we have confirmation of end times or now or what have you?
No, we wouldn't.
Exactly. Because if it had phrased it in a future tense, well, during the time of Isaiah, yeah, that is around the time where they went into captivity, but it's still technically in the future a little bit. Think about it like a parent speaking to their child. When we get home, you are going in timeout. You're going to your room because you're not listening. Versus you will go into your room because you're not listening. When I say will, that can be the same time frame as saying you are going. Both of those can be in the present tense, the way it's used like that. However, if I say you are going to there and do this, then that's guaranteed present. So one has a guaranteed present tense, and the other has a future tense, but could still be related to a present moment that's just about to happen. So good. All right, go ahead and continue, Charles.
This part. And their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. Famished, I could have sworn that was hunger.
Yep.
So your honorable men are hungered. Starving like Marvin. Y'all suffer from hunger. And they're dried up with thirst, so thirsty, of course. Need some water. Verse 14. Therefore, hell hath enlarged herself and opened her mouth without measure. Now he's talking about hell opening the opening her mouth, and just open the opening into hell has opened tremendously, has grown large. The opening to it has grown large without measure, and their glory and their multitude and their pomp, and he that rejoiceth. So glory, multitude. Let me go to pomp. Uproar as of Russian. Implication, destruction. I may need help with the pomp.
All right. What does it mean if somebody has a pompous attitude? We talked about this before.
Let me double check my notes. Maybe I wrote it down.
Well, matter of fact, you should be able to get it from. Yeah, there you go.
Prideful.
Yeah.
See, we're talking about the prideful, the ones with glory, the ones. We're back to the prideful people again. They're gonna descend into hell.
Now, but one thing I need to stress, and Thomas, this is the same for you. Hell, you need to always look up.
Okay.
Every time. Now, do you know why you need to look it up every time?
To make sure we separate. No, let me go back first. Let me think about it before I say that. Wait, no, yeah, to separate hell and the lake of fire, to separate the one where everybody's going to be in eternity at the last days versus the one people are in now.
No. I mean, yes, but no. There's more than just those two.
Okay.
Hell is used for 4 different places. Okay? 4 different places. Hell is used for Sheol. Hell is used for Hades. Hell is used for Gehenna. And hell is used for Tartarus. And you have to keep that in mind. Hell from the English is not originally English, it's taken from another language, but it just means the underworld. That's why it's used for all 4. But if we're talking about Sheol, or if we're talking about Hades, we're talking about the generic afterlife of death, the underworld. Those two are the same. Sheol and Hades are the same. Hades is just the Greek version of it. Sheol is the Hebrew version of it. But if we're talking about Tartarus, or if we're talking about Gehenna, now we're talking about something different. Tartarus is the part of Hades, or part of Sheol, where the torture happens prior to the day of judgment. Some may call it purgatory. But that's where that is. Because in Hades, in the New Testament, it describes in a couple places that on one side, you got the Abraham's bosom, the paradise and all that. While on the other side, you have the whatchamacallit, you got the torture. So Tartarus is one. That's the torture side. And then Gehenna is the word for the lake of fire, for the everlasting fire. So every time when you see the word hell, you have to look it up to see which one it's talking about, because it uses the same word for all four. And if we're talking about Sheol or we're talking about Hades, okay, cool. We're just talking about the underworld in general, the grave in general. But if if it says Tartarus or Gehenna, we have to make sure we're speaking about the right one.
Okay. Thanks for bringing that up. I just wrote that down.
Mm-hmm.
So this hell specifically Sheol, which would be the underworld, which would be the more generic, not the specific portion.
Exactly. Exactly.
No, I'm glad you
Good.
took. Matter of fact, when hell, when you're looking at hell, or next to it on the Bible app, it has H7585. They'll be different numbers too, right?
Yeah, they're different numbers. It'll have the if you look up the word hell, and when you're looking at was it Gehenna? Yeah, Gehenna is 1067. And then Tartarus is 5020.
Thank you.
Hades is 86.
All right. Want to make sure I get that down. Keep that in my notes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the last part, verse 15, and the mean man shall be brought down, and the mighty man shall be humbled, and the eyes of the lofty shall be humble. We already got into the proud, pride, lofty, the mean man.
You're so mean.
Thinking of a song from H119, Rudy, that is, an human being, individual or species. Is this the same as the way we mean before I continue?
Yes.
Okay, because it's Rudy is like, what? What do you mean by Rudy? That is a human being, an individual. So the mean man, mean man is brought down, the mighty is humbled, and the prideful be humbled. The proud,
Mm-hmm.
specifically, be humbled. Oh yeah, and that's it. That's all I got.
But let me say this though, as towards the mean man, when it says Rudy, what do you think that means?
But without looking it up, rude, disrespectful.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Now this puts out to an interesting point. What interesting point takes out from that?
Um, this is this ain't the first time the children of Israel have been disrespectful. To me, this is the first time we've gotten into like like just a rude aspect, like the children of Israel in rude. This is the first time I remember us of us putting those two together. You get where I'm coming from, or do I try to further elaborate on that?
Uh, it's not the first time. It's just the first time that word has been specified as it, because you were close. I think your point is right. You just explained it wrong. Try a little bit more.
Oh, so it might not. Okay, so then, because I thought this might have been the first time, but so
No, no. I mean, we've
from
seen many times where it talks about if you're going overboard in different ways like that, it's not okay. There is something unique about here than what we've seen before, but not that.
so wouldn't the uniqueness of this be in like us specifying rude man, rude Israel, like just rude at all, like just that specification? Isn't that different from what we got into before, like with the before when we talked about like transgression and all that other stuff?
Well, what about him? You keep bringing up the fact of rude, but what about the rude man?
Oh, I was saying the specification of that aspect, just the specification of rude.
No, no. We've had a specification of rude many times. You're not respecting the offering, have not respect for this. That's rude, is it not?
Yeah, it is rude. Yeah, it is.
So, Thomas, what's unique about it? About 15.
Um, let me read it one more time.
Mm-hmm.
And the men, and the men, and the mean man should be brought down, and the mighty man should be humbled, and the eyes of the lofty shall be humbled. What's special about it?
No, not special, unique.
Using
Special
unique
has a
special?
connotation of positive.
Okay.
When you think of saying something special about it, that's a good thing, generally speaking. Unique is similar, but not.
Gotcha. And the mean man should be brought down, and the mighty man should be humbled. The eyes of the lofty should be humbled. Um, as in being made an example of, or
You're on the right track.
for everyone to see in regards to the I'm not sure anything else is a guessing.
All right. So, being a mean man is being unnecessarily rude. Rude when it's undeserved. Charles, haven't we seen other verses before where God tells them not to have respect unto certain things?
Yeah, yeah, we have.
So it's not rudeness as a whole that is being shown, but just being mean to be mean. So this is the first time where we've seen the concept of being mean, being rude just for the sake of it, being shown as something somewhat condemnable because it's used in the same aspect as the pride of strength. Like these are all different forms of pride. Does that make sense?
Now it does.
Yeah,
Because the mighty man, what form of strength, I mean, what form of pride is that? That's you're proud in how strong you are. You think you're special because you're strong. Okay? The eyes of the lofty, that's another form of pride. You're proud and you think you could take or have whatever you want. And the mean man. Well, what form of pride is that? You think you can treat people however you want. All three of these are the same, even though they're a little different. They're different forms of behavior of somebody who thinks they're special or pride in the person. When someone is prideful, they think they could treat someone any kind of way. That's the mean man. You can be rude, treat him however. The one who is prideful because they're strength, they thinking they could take over whatever. They think they're strong. They think they're special because they're strength. Lofty eyes, you think you can have whatever. All three of these are behavioral traits of a prideful person and the impact of it. And because of that, it actually shows that being rude for the sake of rudeness, or for like being rude in an unjustified way or an unfair way, is actually something sinful in God's eyes, something that needs to be brought low, something that's not good.
Which is a great
And
lesson that could be taken in today.
exactly. And it's something also that we've never seen in other verses. We've seen God say that they need to have respect unto God's laws and not to have respect unto others. We've seen him say things like that, where something is sinful and don't have respect of it because of it's sinful. But we've never seen it point out the aspect of someone being rude because they think they can, to have a lack of courtesy, and the lack of courtesy being looked at as a sinful thing in and of itself. So the way I want to explain it, to put it more simply, is just this. This is the first time where it is explained discourteousness and rudeness without a just cause being looked at as sinful and wrong by God. And to that I say, this is also one of those things that should never have needed to be said. Thomas, did you need God's word to tell you that being rude just because you think you can is not how a godly man should behave?
No.
Charles, did you need the word to tell you that?
No.
Well, I would like to inform you guys that the fact that this is being said here means that at this time for the children of Israel, it was happening enough that God felt it needed to be said to them in this parable. Think about that for a moment. And then consider this. And this is the last thing I'll say before we go to the next section. Charles, have you known people who are mean just because they're just choosing to be discourteous? They don't think about the consequences or anybody else for
Yeah.
no reason, no justified reason.
Yeah. All my life, I was raised by something.
Mm-hmm. Thomas, have you known people like that?
Yep.
Yeah. And more specifically, Charles, have you ever met or known people that are supposedly believers in God that behave like that?
Yeah. All my life.
Yeah. Thomas, have you?
You already know.
Yep. So even though it shouldn't have had to be said, it has to be said. But I would keep this verse in your back of your mind, or save it if you can, because if you ever have a question to bring to somebody, when somebody's like, well, I mean, we're supposed to come as you are. I don't have to change up the way I am as long as I'm not being sinful. I don't have to change up the way I am. Yeah, you do, because God looked at it as sinful, as it shows right here, that it was something that had to be brought down. Does God want godly things brought down or sinful things? So yeah, being rude because you think you can, or for an unjust reason, that's something that God looks down as sinful because of this context, or based on this context. Now then, does anybody have any comments or questions as we go to the second section? Now would be the time to raise your hands. All right, then. Thomas, go ahead and read the second section when you're ready.
I'll be reading Isaiah 5, verses 16 through 20. Give it a couple seconds. Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay. But the Lord of hosts shall be exalted in judgment, and God that is holy shall be sanctified in righteousness. Then shall the Lamb feed after their manner, and the places of the fat ones shall be strangers. Sorry, let me do 17 again. Then shall the lambs feed after their manner, and the waste places of the fat ones shall strangers eat. Woe unto them that draw iniquity with cords of vanity, and in sin as it were with a cart rope. Interesting. That say, let him make speed and hasten his work, that we may see it, and let the counsel of the Holy One of Israel draw nigh and come, that we may know it. Woe unto them that call evil good, and good evil, that put darkness for light, and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet, and sweet for bitter. All right.
Now, before you
Take
go into, do you remember what woe means?
I have it here in my notes. Hold on. Is it like take heed?
Yeah, take heed, or I'm warning you, or this is a warning to. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So 16, let me read that one more time. But the Lord of hosts shall be exalted in judgment, and God that is holy shall be sanctified in righteousness. So with this one here, hold on. Pretty much saying that that even though the judgment, destruction, punishment, stuff like that is coming, that uh God's greatness.
The what?
Greatness. Hold on one second. But let me gather my words before I say anything. Give me a couple of seconds, guys.
Mm-hmm. Little piece of hint, because you're about to mess up. Make sure which word you're talking about. Which judgment are we talking about? That's
This
your
is
hint.
judgment. Okay. Like we were just speaking on all the people in the different forms of pride. So in that aspect, I would take it.
Exactly. This is judgment as in weighing scales. So, but the Lord of hosts shall be exalted in the weighing of scales. You could say it like that.
Okay. So pretty much 16 is saying that God is going to be made high while during the weighing the scales. And let
Not
me read this last
during.
one. God is people are going to realize that he is during the weighing the scales.
No. You keep saying during.
I keep saying that. Just
During is a
as in
time
general.
frame.
Yeah, there is no time frame for God being high, the most high.
Well, no. It's an incorrect. It's completely incorrect.
So what are you saying?
Exalted in judgment. How is the in used?
In this instance is what I'm taking it as.
No. Charles, how is the in used here?
What is up with the app? Can
I
you hear
don't
me?
know. Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't. Okay, the app tripping. What is it used for as far as judgment? What is the end used for? Wouldn't it be to? Wouldn't it be towards? Would it be?
No.
Oh, wait, hold on. So in the act of judging is what it
There
is.
you go.
Okay.
Yes. God is lifted up in the act of judging. I would have used the word through, but it means the same thing as what you just said. Yes. So it's not, he's not exalted during judgment. He's not exalted to judgment. He is exalted through judgment. How would God
Okay.
be exalted through judgment? How does judging exalt God?
Because he has the final say so.
That's true in part. That's not the total, but yes. What else? Charles?
That's what I had. That was my answer. I'm thinking of the next one.
All right.
And
Thomas?
by this happening, it displays his holiness and it'll be set
Yes,
apart from set apart and recognized by everybody because of this.
exactly. When righteous judgment is taking place, godliness is shown through. So, if we're having true judgment take place, then God is lifted up by the very fact that righteousness is taking place. I'll give you an example. If you have a church that, like a matter of fact, in today's standards, if you have a church that has a gay pride flag sitting outside up, is God even at an equal level, or is God torn down by that church? Charles?
He'd be torn down in that church.
Exactly. Now, if a new church came in and the first thing they did was remove that flag, how is God being treated? Is he left at equal, or is he lifted up by that fact and that act?
Lift
Wouldn't
it
he
up.
be? Wouldn't he be lifted up because they got rid of the gay pride flag?
Exactly. Exactly. So, by the very fact of exacting true judgment, by the very fact of living godly, the impact of that is God is exalted, God is lifted up. Another way you can look at the word exalt is prioritized, shown to be above things. So, by having judgment take place, God's priority, or the priority of God, is shown to be higher. Does that make sense, Thomas?
Yes.
Does that make sense, Charles?
Yeah, and I'm writing it down too.
Good. And then continue, Thomas, with the rest of that verse in your explanation.
So 17. Let me read that one more time. Then shall the lamb feed after their manner, and the waste place of the fat ones shall strangers eat.
You forgot to finish up 16.
Wait, wasn't it due to his judgment
Oh,
and
there's
being set
what? There's something after judgment, right?
and God that is holy shall be sanctified in righteousness. So in this act, he's been holy in righteousness. Hold on.
No,
I thought that was part of the same thing we were speaking on. By this taking place,
they're well
he is made
connected, but
high.
not the same.
Okay,
What does sanctified mean?
I'm going to the Strong's right now. To make pure, right?
Nope.
All right.
Sanctified is to set apart, not to make pure. Make
Oh
pure is
yeah.
cleanse.
Gotcha.
So
So
if you
God
want to
is
say
set
set apart for
apart here.
purity reasons, you could say it that way, but not set apart generically. That's not enough. So, And God that
Okay.
is holy, so that's just saying that God, he is a holy God, will be sanctified in righteousness. He will be set apart in righteousness.
So by this act of judgment, he'll be set apart in righteousness for
No,
everybody to see.
it's not part of the judgment.
Oh, is
We
this
said that
complete?
already.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
He is exalted in judgment.
Hmm.
That's the part of the judgment. When true judgment is taking place, he is lifted up by that. But then it says a second detail. This is a list.
Okay.
And God that is holy shall be sanctified in righteousness. All right, let me give Charles a chance. Charles?
And I'm explaining and God that is holy shall be sanctified in righteousness.
Yes.
Now, could I go back to that example you brought back? You brought up earlier how a church comes in and takes away that the church that already had the pride flag, another church, new church comes in, takes away that pride flag. By taking away the pride flag, you're separating the people that want to follow God, that want to do it righteously versus the sinful ones. Can I use that as an
No.
example of explaining?
Wait. Separating God.
Not separating God. You're separating the people that want to follow God, that want to do the righteous thing, versus the people who don't want to follow. When you got rid of that pride flag, and you know,
No. Because it's not the people being sanctified here, is it?
no, it's God. I need a better example.
Mm-hmm. They're on the right track though, but no. All right. So God being sanctified in righteousness. Remember what the word in is being used as here. It's the same way as it does in the word when it says in judgment. So how is the word in being used, Thomas?
In righteousness. So in the act of righteousness
Exactly.
or through
So God
righteousness.
is sanctified, or God is separated in the act of righteousness, through righteousness. So when we look at it from that, when we have people living righteously, through that, God is shown as being distinguished, being separate, not like everybody else. I'll give you the example. Charles, if you are living as the rest of the world, if you are partying up, getting drunk, just going as the way the world goes, does your God look like he's any different than the rest of the world?
No, he doesn't.
Exactly. That's how in righteousness God is being sanctified. That's how that impacts. So in judgment, God is lifted up. When we have righteous judgment, by having that true judgment, God is lifted up. But through our day-to-day behavior, through righteousness, God is also sanctified. God is also separated, selected holy. So he's lifted up as being above everything else through us having the righteous judgment. And he's also select or sanctified or separated, different than the rest of the world, through righteousness. Does that make sense, Thomas?
Yeah, that was a better explanation.
All right. Does that make sense, Charles?
Yeah, I see why my example was wrong too.
Mm-hmm. All right. Go ahead, Thomas, and continue.
Okay, so 17, let me read that one more time. Then shall the lamb feed after their manner, and the waste places of the fat ones shall strangers eat. So it's pretty much saying that the lambs and strangers are going to be consuming well where the spoil of where the what's it called? The prideful and the wealthy used to dwell. The remainings or whatever's at the waste. So they just about to be chowing. They just about to be chowing down on whatever's left.
Exactly.
And then 18, I'm gonna read that. Woe unto them that draw iniquity with cords of vanity, and sin as it were with a cart rope. Woe unto them that draw iniquity with cord of vanity, and sin as it was. Okay, so take heed to the people that are like trying to reel in sand, like it's a freaking fish on a fishing pole. And then we have with cords of vanity, but I use that example, and sin as it were with a cart rope. Wow. So they bringing it in by the loads.
Not quite. Close, but not quite. What is vanity?
uh Pointless things.
Yeah, got to make sure to explain that. Woe unto them that draw iniquity with cords of vanity. So, how are you bringing the iniquity in? Through your ties to pointless things.
Yeah.
Now, what would be an example of drawing iniquity in through the ties of pointless things?
Uh Hold on, let me find a good example. Come back to me.
Mm-hmm. Charles, what would be a good example of drawing iniquity in through cords that are through ties of useless things? Charles, you got to unmute.
I thought I was unmuted. I got an example. I'm just thinking about it. Thinking about how to, put it out there. Use the right words.
Okay. All right, Thomas.
Make sure I'm still on music. Yeah. So man, I just came up on some money. I'm about to buy all these drugs to provide to all my friends. Wouldn't that be a waste?
No,
The money. Okay.
because the problem there is you're not drawing in the sin through useless things. You're having something already there that's useless in that you're already having the sin, but it's not through the useless things that you're getting there.
Okay.
All right. Charles, do you have one? Or else I'll just give it to you guys.
Drawing in sin with useless things. Couldn't I be drawn in sin with useless things? When people invite you over, or when people invite other people over, and they're like, "Don't worry, I got like sage here. It'll calm the mind. It'll calm your spirits. It'll, like calm
Nope.
your situation down." Like, oh, okay.
Is it useless or pointless to want calm in your life?
No, it was the sage that made it useless.
Well, remember, you're drawing in iniquity through useless things. But useless things is not okay. You took what I said literally instead of the point I was making. I'm not talking about items that are useless. I'm talking about ideas just in general that are useless. The point is useless. So here's an example of drawing in iniquity through useless things. Caring so much about your looks that you end up allowing pride to take place and you treat people differently based on how they look, discriminating based on looks because of how much you care about how you look and allowing that to impact. Or same topic, caring more so much about how you look to the point that you spend too much money on clothes or makeup to where now you can't afford the necessities you need or don't have enough to give to God. that would be an example of drawing in iniquity through through useless or pointless things. Does that make sense, Thomas and Charles?
Yeah, the second example was good.
The second example was good, but so what's the difference between your second example and me using Sage?
Because
The Sage example.
the sage is not, that is the sin. That's not the useless thing. The point you're trying to do with the sage is you're trying to reach calm. Well, calm is not pointless in the example you gave. Peace is not pointless. You turn to sin, but not for useless things. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, that makes a little bit more sense.
You switched up the goal and the iniquity. The cords of vanity is the goal part. The drawing in iniquity is the tool. So you're drawing in iniquity with cords of vanity, being tied to vanity, connected to vanity. Well, if you're seeking out calm and peace, is it tied to vanity? Are you connecting to vanity? No. Turning to sage is turning to idolatry because you're not turning to God. So what are you drawing it in with? You're not drawing it in with vanity. You're turning away from God. You switched up the goal versus the point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Another example of this would be you're hosting a dinner and your vanity is you want people to think that you're part of high society. So you don't allow any impoverished people in. Only people of a certain stature can come in. Having respect to persons. So you're drawing in that sin, the iniquity of respecting of persons because of your desire to look like you're high society. And that desire to look like you're part of high society is vain. Does that make sense, Charles and Thomas?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right.
Yeah.
Now go ahead and continue, Thomas. Oh, wait, actually, I
So
forgot the other part. The sin, as it were, with a cart rope. So, sin, as it were, with a cart rope. Well, what's a cart rope? Well, think like a chariot. You're pulling a horse. So, if you're pulling the sin, as it were, with a cart rope, now we're not even talking about a goal here, right? What are we talking about, Thomas?
say that last part. Can you hear me?
All right. Yeah. Hold on one second. All right. So, and sin, as it were, with a cart rope. Well, what is a cart rope connected to? Well, you got the cart and you got the horse. The horse pulling the cart.
Yeah.
So if you're pulling it closer, what are you trying to do?
Trying to get to it, reel it in.
Well, no, you're not. You're not trying to reel it in as a cart rope. If you're going to connect to the horse, you're trying to speed it up.
I didn't know.
Well, think about a horse with a cart. If you're trying to pull it in, you're trying to, as you were, and sin, as it were, with a cart rope, you're trying to get it to go more, faster, to get to your destination. So we have two expressions being shown here. One, that you're drawing in the iniquity, you're pulling it close because of your vain desires, your pointless desires, or what you were wanting. Through that is how the iniquity is coming close. And then sin, as it were, with a cart rope. Not only are you trying to pull it in close, but you're trying to get it as fast as you can. There's an energy level being explained here, an effort. You're trying to hold it down. You're trying to keep it in. You're trying to get it fast. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. So we also got an explanation of speed. And then go ahead in 19. And remember what 18 was talking about, because that relates to 19.
Yep. So I'm reading 19 more time.
Actually, I would read
They
18
say,
and 19 together.
woe unto them that draw iniquity with cords of vanity, and sin as it were with a cart rope, that say, let him make speed, and hasten his work, that we may see it. And let the counsel of the Holy One of Israel draw nigh and come, that we may know it. So they got the audacity to sit here and try to they don't believe in Isaiah and his word, so they have the audacity to sit here and try to rush God in his judgment. Hurry up so we can see it, because we don't believe it, which is wild. Okay, you want judges to come faster? Say less type situation, man. Then now I see the relation here to the cords of vanity and the cart rope. So
So what
yeah,
is the vanity that he's describing then because of that? Because that gave us an answer to that question.
so the vanity being described here. Hold on. So they're trying to force a judgment to come faster. So ask that question one more time.
What is the vanity that was being described then?
All right. Is it their
That is,
their pointless request into him to hurry up in the matter?
who's him?
God.
Yes. Good.
Hey, let's go.
So what's leading them or them tying in the pointlessness is them trying to rush God to get the things that they want. Impatience. So basically, long story short, a good example of this in today's day and age is Thomas, I hate to use you, but it's just such a good example.
Go for it.
All right, with the truck company, things weren't moving as fast as you'd like. But you went there, you were supposed to go there to become a truck driver. Through your impatience of that, you sought other opportunities and everything started falling out. Because you couldn't wait for what God had said to take place, couldn't go about it the way he said because it was taking too long from your perspective or what have you, you lost everything the way it was supposed to go.
Yeah.
Because the children of Israel not getting everything in the time frame that they wanted through trying to go about other ways, because of that, they delved into sin through it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Charles, does that make sense to you too?
A lot more when you brought up the example.
Good. And then go ahead, Thomas, with 20.
Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Watch out for the people. See it as a
Watch out?
warning.
No. If I say
Take
woeing
heed.
to you,
My
I'm
bad.
saying it's a
Take
warning
heed.
to them.
Yeah. Warning to the people who are sitting here trying to do the opposite in regards to what I want for my people. You're causing people
No.
to kind of.
Where does it say action? Where does it say to do something?
Oh yeah, I see what it's saying. So this is all more of a hold on, I'm gonna say read it one more time. Woe unto
Hmm.
them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter.
Hmm.
So warning to the people that are changing his words in a sense.
I it didn't say changing his words to evil. It just said good to evil.
Okay.
All right, let me give Charles a chance. Charles?
When you're saying woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, I'm gonna start there first. I have to use an example with this one. Um,
Okay.
woe unto them, woe, woe unto the supporters that think that gays are allowed to be Christians because God is love.
No.
Let me use another example then. Let me think about it.
All right. Thomas, I'll give you one more chance.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know.
All right. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil means you're calling the things that are good evil and calling the things that are evil good. Good example of this, Christianity is evil because you hate gay people. That would be calling good evil and evil good.
Oh wow, so
Di-
it's literal.
disciplining your children is evil because if they're old enough to understand, why are you spanking them? And if they're too young to understand, why are you spanking them? It's evil to discipline. Those are examples of calling something that is good evil. Now, here's something of calling evil good. Going to a gay wedding or being an ally of the alphabet community, calling that good, saying that's a good thing to do, is calling evil good. Because you're saying something that is sinful, something that is bad, that should not be celebrated, that can lead people to damnation. You're saying it's something that should be protected and sanctified as a positive thing. Another example would be of calling evil good.
Could I do one? I was
Yeah, go
thinking
ahead.
of celebrating abortions. Calling
Yeah,
calling that good.
exactly. Calling it a woman's right, women's health care. That it's a health care and it's a right. You have a right to abort your baby. No, it's not. It's murder. And it should not be allowed at all, except in one specific case, when the life, physical life of the mother is at risk of death, reasonable risk of death. So that's a good example, Charles. That's what it means to call evil good and good evil. And then it says that put darkness for light and light for darkness, and that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Notice how all of these are contrasting. All of these are technically opposites of each other. The opposite of light is dark. The opposite of darkness is light. The opposite of sweet is bitter. The opposite of bitter is sweet. That's what it's showing. So you're switching up what something is outside of it and calling it something it's not. That also would work in the same aspect of these churches that say that they follow God, but they don't follow his word. You're calling hypocrisy righteousness. That also would be the darkness to light and the bitter to sweet. All right. Now then, does anybody have any comments, questions about the second section as we go to the final section? Now would be the time to raise your hands. All right. Go ahead, Charles, when you're ready.
All right, I'll read Isaiah chapter 5, verses 21 to 24. Give it a couple seconds. Verse 21. Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. Woe unto them that are mighty to drink wine and men of strength to mingle strong drink, which justify the wicked for reward and take away the righteousness of the righteous from him. Therefore, as the fire devoureth the stubble, and the flame consumeth the chaff, so their rot shall be as rottenness, and their blossom shall go up as dust, because they have cast away the law of the Lord of hosts, and despised the word of the Holy One of Israel. Well, I got the drunks again. That's not my drunk. Why do I got this again? God, you
It's
tell me
because
something,
you were
because
an alcoholic, Charles. God is trying to tell you stop being an alcoholic.
I don't even drink like that. The most I
Listen,
drink is
you just want to
communion.
justify your drinking and your sinfulness. That's why God trying to tell you.
Never. Now, when verse 21, when he says, "Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes," warning unto them. When you say wise in their own eyes, what I'm thinking of is the people that say, "Oh, well, this thing right here is correct," but then you got everybody else saying, "But here's the proof that it isn't." Oh, well, here's the proof that there's proof that this isn't what it's supposed to be. But this person chooses to believe that this is what it is. Am I wrong?
You are wrong.
Okay.
Wise in their own eyes is not just specific to one person. It can be to society generically as well. Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes. Well, if I'm trusting in the wisdom of the world, even when it's been contradicted, that's different than what you brought up, but that is also included what's brought up here. So you think you're wise, but you're not wise. You think you're wise according to what you consider to be wise
Over
instead of
what
what
you,
God says is wise.
even though it didn't add emotion or feelings or anything, wouldn't that include the people that say, "I believe I'm right because I feel I'm right"? Wouldn't it include them too?
Well, yeah, I said that. I said it's just yours is that it includes more than just that. It can include in a
Mm,
society.
so warning unto them that just believe that they're right in broad sense. Then,
I would be more specific in saying a warning to. I'm warning those who think they're wise, and it's not according to God's word.
okay,
Who think that they're wise because of other things instead of God's word.
got it.
Because if you're wise or you're prudent, what's the difference between wise and prudent? Because they're similar. They're very similar.
Let me double check wise, and then let me go to prudent.
I'll tell you one thing, they're both forms of wisdom.
But there's one thing that's different that separates them.
Yep.
Matter of fact, I might have it in my notes. Come back to me.
All right. Thomas, what's the difference between wise and prudent? Here's a hint, they're both forms of wisdom.
Yeah. I'm not sure in regards to prudence. I couldn't tell you the difference.
All right. Charles, do you got it, or I'll give the answer?
I don't have it.
Okay. The difference between wise and prudent. Wise is wisdom as a whole. Prudent is wisdom in preparation. Being wise in how you prepare for things. I'll give you an example of both. Wise, you may think you have wisdom because you have a lot of experience in this world, but none of your wisdom is backed by the word. So some things you're wise and you're accurate about, other things you got a false wisdom. Prudent in their own sight. A good example of that is somebody who preps for a zombie apocalypse, but yet doesn't read the Bible. You may think you're wise in the way you prepare for things. You got a whole bunker set up, but you're not prepared for everlasting death or life. So you're not truly prudent. You may have a 401k. You may have savings and have millions and millions of dollars. So you may think you're prudent in how you prepare, but you're not prepared in salvation. Or, in other words, even less than the salvation level. You may think you got all this money because you got all of it, but it's all tied up in stocks. You have zero liquid assets, no cash. You may think you're prudent, you may think you're wise, but you have no access to your money in the midst of an emergency. So if your rain goes out, by the time it takes to get through the litigations and everything to sell your stocks and all that, you might have to deal with some struggles and problems because you weren't prepared. Because everything was tied up in stocks. Does that make sense, Charles?
Yes, that makes sense.
Does that make sense, Thomas?
Yeah.
All right, then go ahead and continue, Charles.
Okay. Now, verse 22. Woe unto them that are mighty to drink wine, and men of strength to mingle strong drink. This is just talking about the mighty, the the strong that are drinking wine, and the men of strength. The strong and the strong, the mighty. These are drunkards. It just warning to those strong men that are going straight to the drink, that are getting drunk. Bringing up the drink again, which that's interesting that he brought it up twice. Oh, it continues
Not
too.
necessarily. Not necessarily.
What do you
Woe
mean, not
unto them
necessarily?
that are mighty. That doesn't necessarily mean mighty as in strength. That could be position of authority. To have power. Woe to them that have power to
Oh,
drink
you meant the
wine.
mighty part. Okay.
And then men of strength to mingle strong drink. So this is a warning of people both physically or in positions of power to be cautious when it comes to drinking.
Got it.
That matters because of 23. It's connected.
That's what I would. Yep, it's disconnected. Which justify the wicked for reward. Oh, that's why you brought it. Okay. Which justify the wicked for reward, and take away the righteous of the righteousness from him. Yeah,
You said
that's
that
why you brought
backwards.
up
The
that.
righteous of the righteousness. The
The
righteousness of the
righteousness of the
righteous.
righteous. Sorry. The righteousness of the righteous from him. Yeah, that's why you brought it up that way. Mighty as in not like physical power, but like power in other means. Like you reign over things, you have power over things. When you have that much power over things, then you can you can, you can take in wicked things for rewards. You can take away someone's righteousness. You can manipulate different things when you have that kind of power.
Now, why would the drinking come into play in that? How would that come into play? I should say, not why.
How would drinking come into play? Well, when
Yep.
anybody's drinking too much, you're not in a sober mind when you're making decisions.
And how would that impact?
When you're not in a sober mind, you're not making the righteous decision. You're not making the best decision for the situation. Who does when they're drunk, when they're beyond drunk? No one makes the best decisions or the best choices.
No. How could that impact though? Yeah, we get the part of not making good decisions. What's the effect of it? What's the impact of that? What's the consequences of it?
The consequences, let's say you're a person in power and you're drunk making decisions, you're putting people in harm's way, you're taking things away from them, you're putting people, you're putting people away from God. You can make decisions like that. You can put people in positions where they're away from God. There's all kinds of stupid things you could do when you have all that power and you're
You keep
drunk
saying
making
putting people
decisions.
in positions. Like it's not putting people in positions. You're literally making the decisions and taking it away from them. You can make agreements that take away their rights. You're the one who's in the position of authority. You're the one who decides. You're not putting people in positions to fail. You're the one failing them. You see how that's different, Charles?
Give me an example.
All right. If I'm in a position of authority and I sell your house to somebody who I've been drinking with when it's not his house and it's literally your house, did I put you in a position or did I literally take it away myself?
You just took it away yourself.
See what I'm saying? Whereas being put in a position, if I'm drunk and I'm having and in that same type of situation, if I'm drunk and I make an agreement to sell your house, or switch it up. Instead of selling your house, I make an agreement that you have to pay more money or your house is going to be sold when we've already agreed to terms for your sale of your house that you're going to be able to buy it. Now I'm putting you in a position to lose it. One of them has an ending, one of them has a process. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if you're in a position of authority, be cautious when it comes to drinking because you can make decisions and agreements and plenty of things that can destroy people's lives or go sinful in many kind of ways like that. A good example of this happened with Herod and John the Baptist. If Herod was not sitting here drinking, having a good old time when his daughter started dancing, told her you could have whatever you want up to half the kingdom, would they have been able to ask for John's head?
No, they wouldn't.
That's a perfect example of this and how the consequences what it could be. Now, again, why the whole saying put in a position? Are you put in a position? Is John the Baptist put in a position by having his head being set to cut off? No, it's a final decision.
Hmm.
That's why I said the being put in a position is the problem. It's
Got it.
one
I
form, but
understand.
it's not the total. All right, go ahead and continue.
All right. So let me go to the
Well, and
ending.
that's the takeaway, the righteousness of the righteous part. But what about the justifying the wicked?
Justifying the wicked for reward. I thought I brought that up earlier. Let me go back. Justify the wicked for reward. Let me think. I'm going to have to use an example for that one too.
All right, we're taking too long of this, Charles. You guys are having a lot of dead air time today. I'm gonna have to start pulling time on that. So, justifying the wicked for reward, you're getting bribed to let the wicked go with their wickedness. For example, you're getting drunk, enjoying time with somebody who's a slave trader, and they pay you money so that they don't go to jail for having slaves and selling slaves. Does that make sense, Thomas and Charles?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. And little heads up as we continue to the last portion of this. Starting with tomorrow's, I've been going back and forth. I've been saying about whether or not I'm gonna start being more short and just giving the answers like before. with all the dead air time where you guys aren't giving answers, like it's too much dead air time. If you don't know, you need to say you don't know, and you guys haven't been doing that. We've gone backwards on that. So, in future reference, if you don't have an answer, if you don't have a capability, I'll give you a couple seconds maybe, but not like it's been. So I'm gonna give you a couple seconds. If you don't have an answer, I'm just gonna give the answer, and no second chances. No, give me a second. None of that no more. If you don't know it, then I gotta go to it. I'll tell you how to figure it out, like we did before. All right.
Got it.
All right.
What about the times when we need that second and we get it right?
Well, because that's the point is that if you need that second, well, we're not just having 1 second. I'm giving you guys that second right then and there. And then after that second, there's been multiple times where I come back, you still don't have it. You're not saying give me a second because you already have it. You're saying give me a second to try to figure it out, and you don't have any concept of it. It's just wasting time for the sake of wasting time to hopefully figure it out instead of having like, because when you say just give me a second, that's supposed to be like you're on the edge, you have it, but you're just trying to think about how to word it, not you want to give excess time to try to figure it out. You see what I'm saying? Like how many
Yeah,
times have we said give me a second, I come back, you still have no clue.
right.
So the whole point of giving that second is like you do have you're on the edge, you got it. You just need that last little bit to word it properly or what have you. So if you do need a second, we'll give you about like 5 seconds or so, like to try to figure it out. But if you can't answer on that first try, then we got to go to the next.
Sounds
Like we
good.
are in because like even looking at the time now, the whole goal was to break it down to an hour each. We are already at an hour and a half, and we still haven't done the listening portion. So, all right, go ahead and finish up the explanation, Charles, with the last part.
Therefore, as the fire devoureth the stubble, and the flame consumeth the chaff, so their root shall be as rottenness, and their blossom shall go up as dust, because they have cast away the law of the Lord of hosts, and despised the word of the Holy One of Israel. Um, I'm not gonna come up with it in time what the root would be and the blossom would be. Their root
Okay,
as rottenness,
root is the root of a tree. That's where you get the
right?
nutrients and everything. If that's dried up as rottenness, then what would happen to it?
It would die off.
Exactly. Same thing as a blossom. If a blossom is going up as dust, what's happening to the blossom?
That blossom's gonna die off too.
So then when it says, therefore, as the fire devour the stubble and the flame consumeth the chaff, so the root, or in other words, the foundation of the children of Israel, what they feel they have a leg to stand on, is going to be just like rottenness. It's going to be destroyed. And then the blossom, the thing that they're proud of, their beauty, will be destroyed. So the roots is the foundation. The roots is the where you get the nutrients. What they think that they have. Not how can I put it? It's what they're able to stand on. So
Got
your
it.
foundation you're standing on is destroyed, and then the blossom. What's the blossom of a flower? That's the beauty of the flower, right?
Right.
The beauty of Israel is going to be destroyed. So you'll no longer have a foundation or anything to be proud about.
Because you went away from God's law, God's will, and God's way.
Exactly. Now, final question before we pray out before I give you guys a chance to comment the questions. And it'll go to Charles. No, go to Thomas first. How does 21 connect to 24?
Or I probably wouldn't have it in time.
All right. Charles?
Don't know at the moment.
All right. 21 connects to 24 because in 24, at the very end, we're talking about despising the law and despising the word of God. And in 21, we're talking about them being wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. So they think they're wise, they think they're good at preparing, but they're turning away from the law. They cast it away, like throwing it out, and they're despising the word. Well, if you're throwing out the law and despising the word, you're not wise and you're not prudent. Now, secondary question. I was going to connect to it. It's supposed to be an A and B. But this will go to Charles first and then Thomas. How does this correlate to people today? That fact that I just brought up about 21 and 24.
How it correlates today? Well, today we see people doing what they want to do, not just based off of they taking something. Like, let's say you're doing what you want to do and you're taking things out of context of the Bible, then you just do what you want to do. Then you have the people that don't take anything out of the Bible, but they still do what they want to do. They still live how they want to live. They don't do it off of a wisdom from the Bible. They don't do it off of any wisdom at all. That's what I'm thinking about of people today.
Good. And Thomas, what is the how does this impact standing for people or the who the people are today? This concept that we're talking about in 24 and 21.
You mean like standing for people, like beside them, like with them?
No, standing as in like where you stand in life, like or where you stand in God or where you
Could you
stand in like
re-ask
in
that
that type.
question?
Yeah, I'll re-ask it in a different way. How does what we just discussed about 21 and 24 affect what people call themselves?
I think it's a lack of context and taking things into their own private interpretations, and that leads to beliefs and things of that nature that leads to people what they call themselves.
Not quite.
Okay.
True, but not quite. Not the point. Charles?
I was thinking about what people claim. Those that claim that they're following God the right way and that they're not, they're
There
in
you
their
go.
mind they think they're going to heaven. In their mind, they think they're saved and they have salvation because they gained it through a prayer. But then you you got the other half of it where people are like, "Oh, I'm good. I believe in rebirth. I believe in me coming back as a fly. I believe in Buddha. I believe in all these other things where I'll be good when I die. I'm not going to hell when I die." That's what I was thinking
Good.
about.
Exactly. That's what I was getting at, Thomas. All right.
I got you.
Now, do you guys have anything you want to add or say before we pray out the Bible study portion? Now would be the time to raise your hand. All right, then Thomas, go ahead and pray us out.
All right, if you guys can bow your heads with me. Lord Heavenly Father, we thank you for another good Bible study. Although there were a lot of things that we could take from this Bible study, but there are also things that we can apply to our lives. And when I think about this Bible study and what we spoke on, may we not be the ones who cling on to pride. May we not be the ones who think we're wise in our own eyes, making our own decisions, not going to the Bible to trying to figure out that context or if what we're truly doing is according to you and your word and what you have in store for us. May we be the ones that do just that and be that example for other people and to let them know the truth and be there for them and to call it out if needed when it comes to our brothers and sisters in Christ. And we thank you for these things, for it helps us grow and develop. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, now on to the Bible listening portion. Now, as you guys know, last night we just finished up again for the fourth time the whole Bible. So tonight, our Bible listening is from Genesis chapter 1 to 16. Again, Genesis chapter 1 to 16. Let me know when y'all got it.
Got it.
Got it.
All right. Now, last night's listening was Revelation chapter 4 to 22. And we'll have Thomas go ahead first with his. And remember, it's just one from now on, guys. Thomas will go with his, then Charles will go with his, and then I'll go with mine of what verse section stood out to us the most.
Okay, so first and only one. Gotta get used to that. This is going to be Revelations 4:10-1. Read that real quick. The 24 elders fall down before him that sat on the throne, and worship him that liveth forever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created. Okay. Okay, so pretty much they're just we got John. This is all regarding to John here, and witnesses like the worship and the crowns of the elders being pretty much laid down and according to God, achievements before his throne, being the almighty one, the worthy one at all. So they're kind of just showing their respect there for God in this situation here.
Good.
That's what I have. Yeah.
All right. Charles, you got anything you want to add on that?
Nope.
The only thing that I'll add on is the fact of the crowns. The fact of it showing that they had these crowns of glory that they had. But when God is there, they're throwing down their crowns, throwing down their positions of authority. And that's something to keep in mind in our own lives. There may be times you gain a position of authority. God may have you own a business. He may have you be a manager in a business, if not owning. You might be in positions of authority in the church. But remember this, you should always have a mentality that what is most important is be ready to throw your crown down. That's the biggest thing. You may be a king in your own right in the way you run things, or you may be a king literally. But you are nothing but a servant to the King of Kings in comparison. All right. Charles, go ahead with what you said.
That was a fire add-on, bro. For real, for real.
I appreciate it. Which part of it?
Everything in a nutshell, bro. It's just beautiful.
Okay.
I'm sure we can all correlate that to our lives, but as we all try to step into trying to form business as far as trucking and me trying to do the whole eBay thing, like better be ready to throw it and let it go when time comes.
Exactly. You may be a king, but you're nothing but a servant before the King of Kings.
You gotta start rapping in the Bible study, bro. It's not okay.
I'm sorry. I do apologize. God gave me discernment. So, anyways, all right. So go ahead, Charles, with yours.
This one I didn't catch the last time. Revelations chapter 16, verses 8 to 11. These specifically, I got others, but we only got one. The fourth angel and the fifth angel. On the fourth angel, he's lighting men on fire. He's scorching them to death. He's scorching them, basically. He's burning them alive or burning them to death. Sorry. But as they're getting burned, they're still disrespecting God and they're not repenting. Same with the fifth angel. When he brings pain to men, they are also blaspheming, disrespecting God, and not repenting and showing God glory. That blew my mind.
Yeah.
Even the last of last days, when you're going through all of this stuff, you don't say, "Oh, my bad, I'm sorry." No, no, none of that. You still disrespect God all the way down. Because we talk about, you always bring up the joke, praising God all the way to hell. Now we have to have a joke of disrespecting God all the way to hell. Yeah, that was crazy. What you guys got to say?
All right, Thomas.
Nothing on that one.
All right. The only thing that I have to add on to that is it goes into about who we preach to and who we deal with. Always keep in mind that you cannot force somebody to accept Christ. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter how right you are, no matter what facts you give, no matter what else. That's why Paul said that he did not come with excellency of speech, making the cross of none effect. It makes no sense to sit here and go all effort into how you're going to reach somebody to a certain extent if they're not going to want desire to follow anyways. So keep in mind, if somebody is receptive, I become all things to all men that some might be saved. However, don't allow it to get to the point where you're sitting here trying to go so far for somebody who clearly doesn't want it. You can't make somebody want to be right with God. Just as these men who are sitting here in the middle of torture are still talking back and not repenting. All right. Now, I was going to bring up Revelation 20, but there's one that sticks out to me more, especially with things that have happened recently in life, in our physical reality. Verse 15 of chapter 16. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. Now, the reason why that one sticks out to me and why I have to bring that one up instead of the one I was going to bring up is because, Thomas, how many times have you heard that we're in the last days because of such and such thing?
More than I can count on my fingers for sure.
Mm-hmm. Charles, how many times have you heard that Jesus is coming back soon or the world is ending soon because of such and such things are happening?
Many, many times.
So now I'm going to put it to you in the form of a question saying the same concept. Thomas, is a thief going to give you a heads up that they're about to rob you when they're about to rob you?
It would be much appreciated, but no.
So, Charles, with all that in mind, are we going to know for a fact when the coming is going to happen before it's happening?
No.
Exactly. So we either got one or two choices. Either one, we believe God's word, in which case we're supposed to be ready because we don't know when his coming back is going to happen. Or two, we call God a liar because even though he said it's coming as a thief, we don't trust it. We see the signs, we see everything going on. World is going to crazy. Jesus coming back real soon. Jesus has been coming back soon for 2,000 years. Now, does that mean you get to live out however you want? No. You still need to be living as if he's coming back soon because we need to be ready. You don't know what day you're going to die. And the day that you pass on, it's too late at that point. Let alone if he does so happen to come back and you're unprepared. The Bible describes in a couple places that at the last days that they're partying. They're having a good old time. They don't see it coming. So yes, we have to have a mentality in how we live, an urgency and a true effort to follow God, not living like we got all the time in the world. That is true. But at the same time, people cannot be sitting here claiming they believe in God. Meanwhile, God has said multiple ways, multiple times, no man will know the day or the hour. And yet they're sitting here like, whoa, we can tell he's coming home. We can tell it's going to happen real soon because the world is crazy right now. The world has been crazy. And at this point, with the whole Great Tribulation being something that's never happened before, we've had everything happen before except for a couple possibilities. One of them being an incapability to have children. That's one possibility. But, and I'll ask this as the form of question, last one. Last two questions, I guess. Thomas, have there been people, men dressing and pretending to be women and vice versa in history?
Of course.
So are transgender people really new, Charles?
No.
Then about abortions. Thomas, have there been people who harm women and try to kill the baby in the womb in history?
Yep, definitely.
So, Charles, are abortions new?
No.
Okay. And we know war isn't new. We know torture isn't new. So, what exactly that's supposed to be new in the Great Tribulation are we even dealing with here? Nothing. Everything that is happening at this time has been happening, even including the false praise and false worship of God, where they think that they're right with God, but they're following according to man's teachings and not according to the word. That's the point. That's why this one sticks out to me in verse 15. Also, I want to say as a little side note, I didn't know that Armageddon was at biblical times, because that stuck out to me too. Verse 16. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. I thought that was an English word. I didn't know that was an ancient Hebrew word. Which is crazy. Now, do you guys have now, Thomas, do you have anything you want to add on that?
No.
All right, Charles, do you have anything you want to add on that?
Nope.
All right. Then I'll go ahead and close it out.